Hi everyone and welcome to today's episode of BGH. I am Jamila and I have the amazing, beautiful, formidable, I don't know why she's giving me the face, the formidable Aliyah Hasinah.
Hey.
Why are you being so
I don't know.
shy? I'm being so, I feel like I've never seen you
hype.
like doing this, like
Shy girls.
Yeah, shy girls. Like, what's the energy?
I'm usually energy. We're back.
Yes, yes.
I'm usually the hype girl though.
Yes,
so I'm everyone's hype girl. So it feels
So like being in the
the
back
shoes on the
seat
other
is
foot.
weird.
It's
Yeah.
like, ooh.
How you doing?
I'm good. I'm breathing.
I feel like every time I see you, you're always doing something super amazing on Instagram. Just being a general all black girl magic vibe.
I'm trying.
Are you tired? That's why
I'm mad tired. Like, let's talk on it because burnout is not cute. It's not good for your edges.
But your edges are mad cute. Listen, I have to always have my hair down because my edges are... They need to be avenged. They need to... Somebody needs to help.
I feel like I'm going to shave off all my hair real soon.
It's not helping your sister.
I hear you on a spiritual level. I feel like I got some braids the other day and they just like tugged it out.
Oh my gosh,
so I cut them out.
But they look cute.
Oh, thank
you. Look
They're
real
coming
cute.
back for Black History Month soon.
Okay.
They're coming back. I just
going...
need to find a braid on.
Are you going to that Black Girl Fest thing?
No, okay. So all the tickets sold out yesterday.
Yes.
And I really wanted to go. Are you going?
Shout out to me.
Oh,
Shout out to my sponsors.
No, I wish I was. I'm going to try and finesse my way in.
I feel like please do because
I really want to go.
I need some
Nicole
inspiration.
And Paula have done incredible with the program this year and the whole team. Like my chest plate spinning.
The writer, like the people that are on there, like the lineup, I'm super excited. I'm like, I feel already inspired and we haven't even gone there.
And it's the fact that they sold out 3,000 tickets in like a day and people are saying that black women aren't on market. I just
listen. I don't even.
How much more do we have to do? Like, man's tired.
I am very, very tired. But then I was talking to you about like what you're doing now. I know that you are currently like working with diversity and inclusion, but then you're trying to go into movies. Talk to us a little bit about that.
So I work for an organisation at the moment called Fearless Futures, and they're great. The work that they do, looking into diversity and inclusion and how through like putting people through experiential practices or experiences we can like unpick and unsolve some of like the huge systems of oppression at play, whether that's like in our interpersonal reactions between people or whether that's at a systemic like point of view. So whether it's in the workplace or like just walking down to the shops and like the things that we'll encounter, but seeing how it's a huge structural issue instead of it just being racism in being called the N-word or being called in like the little interactions. So I'm a facilitator for them and I help make some of their resources. And so I work in the office and on the ground and we sort of like facilitate for like loads of big businesses and banks and stuff like that.
That's fabulous.
It's super like interesting.
You love it?
I really do. I do love it. It's also getting to that stage where it's trying to find the balance and also a lot of the content from our sessions can be very like triggering sometimes.
Ooh, I can imagine.
Especially like as like a black woman. I've been in spaces where like I'm a black woman but I'm the only black woman there, and then you have to try and speak on a space of authority and like the participants who are usually like middle-aged middle-class white people want to speak over you, so there's microcosm in the space playing out and you're like, oh, these dynamics are mad cute. Maybe they're not cute. But yeah, so I'm currently doing that part-time at the moment. But my dream's always been to make short films.
Right.
And I've made some films and will continue to do that. So, and black period dramas where we've been having stories. Like,
listen, I feel
it's
like
not
I'm
just
tired.
Downton Abbey.
Yes.
I love Downton Abbey.
I watched the movie
but
with my mama and my little sister. Yeah.
It was really
myself.
good. I love Peaky Blinders, like all of that shit. But like, we've been here. There are 10,000 stories that we could have like dramatized and produced to that same quality.
This is my thing, and I felt like I spoke on this as well because, like, Black History Month, it is Black History Month, and I felt like we often get reduced to like slavery and Martin Luther King, and no offense, like no issues with that, but I feel like the story is bigger than that, and I feel like we need to explore those stories. So in comes Aliyah to give us the tea.
We're gonna try.
We need
But,
us in these spaces to be able to, like, you know, just like skew the narrative a bit and just have those like bigger opportunities and just be able to speak on a bigger scale. If that makes sense.
No, 100%. And I think that like there's so much we could be doing in so many different like disciplines, and just being able to have that narrative like in a space opens up so many other opportunities to be able to like see what is possible, then enables you to like tell your truth or tell your story. So I'm so down for us being able to have period dramas that are about like, I don't know, the Kingdom of Kush, like ancient, what's it called, Nigeria, like all of these different.
Shout out to my peoples.
wait, hold tight, Nigeria. But all these different stories that have like complexity and multiplicity, and where it doesn't always have to be like a black versus white like narrative of we were oppressing you, because that's the consistently like what we see. And I just want to see nuance in terms of like being able to just be and not expect all black people to be the same.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yeah. I know we're having this conversation.
Yeah.
Which I definitely want to touch on, but I just want to go back to your work.
Yes, I forgot I'm also a curator.
Oh yeah, girl. Plug yourself.
And a writer.
Oh my gosh, guys. When I say this girl is always active, I'm not even joking. I'm trying to be like you. Why are you trying to slow down? We need you. We need you.
I'm gonna try. Yeah, I'm trying to slow down just because I think when you want to like craft something, you really need to take that time to craft it instead of getting distracted. And like the world that we live in at the moment is so easy to get distracted, but being able to like drill down and learn more about like whether that's curation and like black art history or finding out how to develop period dramas and films and documentaries, I feel like that's what my calling is in terms of storytelling. And so I know that I just need to stop sleeping on myself in that aspect and just push forward with gusto.
This is what I think. I felt like when I met you, I feel like that's what struck me about you. I feel like you are that. I feel like you're looking at me like I'm crazy, but I honestly feel like you definitely have that drive, and it really strikes people when they meet you. I was telling you that obviously I started off as a lawyer and I went into PR, and then just generally finding out that I don't want to like blow my trumpet or nothing.
Blow it, B. Blow it, B. Come on.
You know, like I have a gift for like talking to people and making them feel comfortable with myself. I think I like to.
You do. We're mad comfy right now. We're mad comfy.
And then just having a passion for black people and just people in general who are marginalized and feel oppressed and don't feel like they have a voice. I feel like that is what I was passionate about, or I am passionate about. And then just being like writing about those stories and just speaking to people wherever I can about that. So I feel like that is what I want to do. And I feel like as black women, sometimes we have a tendency to feel pushed to a corner. That whole idea of like when you enter like certain spaces, I know for myself, like how you were talking about work, that really struck a chord with me, because I was working at a place recently and girl, the ghetto. the favela. Listen, first of all, 2 weeks in, why am I being called by my manager to say, oh, it's come to my attention that a few people feel like you're standoffish? When I first heard that, I was like, in my mind, I was like, Lord, here we go. Here we go.
What happened?
Listen, so first of all, she was like, oh, I feel like you're standoffish. And I was just like racking my brain to think about who could have said this. There's this guy that sits next to me, and obviously I'm just new to the job. I'm trying to get my like teeth into everything, but this girl would not stop talking. So obviously after a while, I had to put my headphones on because that's
literally Black Girl Bible. Everyone puts their headphones in to survive.
But people do not understand this, and they always have to take everything black women do as some kind of like sassy, quote unquote, like feisty reaction.
I'm trying to get on with my work, and also this bitch, she's not doing her work. Can we talk about that?
The thing is, she will do her work, get it done, and then everyone will look at me like, you're not pulling your weight. So it's just stuff like that, and just like so many different things. They were like these little words of like, oh, the way you came across and all these little things, I just used to get on my nerves, and I'd have to call my friends and be like, yo, why are these people talking to me like I'm crazy? And it's just that feeling of having to change yourself and having to reduce the way you speak, or like not laugh too loudly.
And
it's
when there's
exhausting.
I don't have time for it. And so like made like a vow-ish to myself to just not entertain it. And I didn't realize how much that impacted people until quite recently. Working on a project, and someone came up to me and was like, I just feel like were really aggressive to me in the meeting. And I was like, I literally said, I was like, you want to say aggressive to me as a black woman? Do you want to try and find another word? Ooh! Or do you want to come back and talk to me in a bit?
Listen.
And like, he just repeated it. And I was like, no.
Aggressive.
And so I just walked away, because I was just like, you're really just trying to take up my headspace. And there's many a thing on my head top. I cannot lie. And you're not about to become one of them, even though we're talking about it right now.
And I feel like this is what I have an issue with. I feel like people do not understand how much this kind of can seep into someone's psyche.
Oh, 100%.
It makes you paranoid, and you walk into a room and you think, okay, how am I coming across in a certain way? What can I do? How do I reduce it? And it does play like this massive...
100%. It's psychological, and that's like part of the work that we do with the future as well, is breaking down like the cognitive load that like it creates.
Tell us, sister, preach to us.
Because it's like, it gets to the point where it's like the straw that broke the camel's back, because of all these little microaggressions. And like, it's actually been scientifically proven by a couple scientific studies across the world that because of microaggressions, it can, because your cortisol levels like increase dramatically, it can actually take 10 years off of your life. What? So like, I'm not trying to die. I'm not trying to die for the white gaze.
Listen.
I don't have time. I cannot. Because like, we start thinking about all of why we're pushing ourselves into this space to make other people feel more comfortable.
This is it.
And I can't do that, because you're going to be uncomfortable whether I'm sat comfortable in my house doing nothing. You're going to find something. So like, I can't trouble my head top with it. I'm not saying that I don't, but like, really at the moment trying to be in a space of moving away from letting that like affect my energy so much. I can't come here and die.
I completely understand, but then I feel like, how do we create a balance though? Because I feel like, you know, we need to still collect our coins, and we need to still be 100%. Like still be marketable. But it's like, how do I stop myself from having that burden though? Because even this summer, I took a couple of young people away to like a summer camp. And it was in late August, and most of the people that I took away, they were quite a big group, and they were all people of color. And they had, obviously, you know how like young people can be, they had like some kind of altercation with another group, which are mostly white. And even before,
the race war begins.
Listen, and it's like, they're so young. Yeah. Obviously, all these things, they are very aware of the situation. The girl was relaying the story back to me, and the first thing that she said was that she tried to separate all the boys from the group, because she knew how, you know, when they come, it can escalate very quickly. The boys from our group. And she felt like...
Sounds a little bit racist to me.
No, like what she was saying, like the girl from my group was saying that she felt like she had to get the boys away, because she knew that they were obviously going to back her. Yeah. And she didn't want that to happen. And she said that she quickly apologized to everyone.
So these mechanisms we have to do to make other people feel comfortable.
This is what I'm saying. And it's from such a young age. But listen to this now. She was saying that she had to make sure that she was calm when she was speaking to the people. That she asked, that she was talking to another white girl, and she said to the girl, can I have a conversation with you by yourself? And her boyfriend was like, no, he has to be with her. Obviously that is aggressive. That is 100% aggressive. 100%. But she said that she had to make sure that she was calm, because she didn't want to quote unquote come across as the angry black woman stereotype. This is a girl who is 14. And these messages are already being like put in her head that she can't come across in a certain way. And obviously that struck a chord with me. Yeah. Because this boy was calling her aggressive. And he was saying that, oh, she came across with being feisty and all these things. And I'm just like...
And also, what's wrong with my feist? What's wrong with my feist?
You are the one who insisted on staying so that you can protect your girlfriend. And she is...
And now you want to have fire in your belly.
I'm just like
white people can't be aggressive.
White people can't be aggressive, but obviously
even though the
everything
colonialism,
oh.
like,
girl.
2 and 2 made 7.
It just makes no sense.
Yeah.
It just feels very loaded, and it's just like we have to reduce ourselves from early to like make ourselves more palatable, and it's tiring.
Yeah.
So like how you said about like taking 10 years of our lives, I don't want to take 10 years. I want to live.
I want to thrive.
Like
I can't.
It's just a lot.
But it's so hard because, again, I will guess a lot of what is always fed to us, like, is always questioning our identity, our space here. I find it like that rhetoric quite aggressive in the UK. It's always like, so what does it mean to be black? Or like, how do you feel about mixed race people? Or how do you blah blah blah?
Oh,
and like,
gosh,
I just don't.
And we must have an opinion on everything.
On everything. And like, I don't care that your one token black friend Derek said this one thing that
fine.
now we all agree with.
Pass.
Like, no, but it's just like, if you don't enable us to have that nuance, then it just, you're doing that same racist thing again of like not thinking that we can have alternative. I know the fact that I even had to say the word alternative, like there is no, it's not an alternative, it just is. I'm just really tired of the humanity really being stripped away to the point that we start to see it from our own gaze as well. But yeah,
it's a lot, because like up until recently I felt like with the UK, I was reading like Akala's book. I just feel like this man. Anyway, let's not go into it. But basically, I was reading his book.
Section has started.
listen, Akala. But he's just talking about a lot of things. He articulated so well, and I just feel like British people had always been looking externally, and they're looking at other people as being the big bad wolves, when really they do the same thing. Like, for example, Gina Asher Smith, the one that just ran the 200 meters and like won, and just even seeing the comments underneath and like, oh, she doesn't look black British, blah blah blah, and all these like random.
What does
comments.
black British look like?
What does it look like?
Tell me. I'll wait.
I'm just like, listen, it's just a lot,
and it's just fart foolishness. Like, in all honesty, it makes no sense. But again, it comes from that same root of like racism, of expecting us all to be the same.
Yeah,
and not all skin folk are kinfolk, and they don't have to be.
They don't have to be. And like as you were saying before, like when I saw you earlier about like not everybody has the same mindset, and not everyone understands the same thing, and like we're allowed to be individuals. We don't have
it's okay. And also, you look at like the history of colonialism, like the way
speak on it.
The way that like spaces were cut up. You'd have like Nigeria, for example, where there's so many different communities that were literally just ruling, just doing their thing, different ethnicities, so on and so forth. But you cut it up and then you say, oh, all you black people are the same because I see you as being the same. So therefore now one person has to rule all of you.
This is it.
That just does not make sense.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work because you don't take into account any difference. You've just literally worked on what you've seen. And that clearly all those black people are the same, even though ethnically there are very different variations and so on and so forth. But again, that's what we see being reproduced so much now, is that one person's gaze continuing to just like speak on what it means for all black people to exist. There's so much nuance between like Igbo or like Yoruba and Caribbean as well. Like it just super jars me, because if we always talk about the differences, for example, in like London being like North London so different culture to South London, or East or West. What makes you think that Birmingham isn't the same in terms of North, East, West and South, but also that the different like ethnic nuances in there, everyone is so fucking different, and we can't expect just because we all look black to be the same way that people get down on Kanye for like saying whatever. Like, I'm not for his politics. Like, go on with your bad self.
I
but
definitely
like,
am not.
I'm not. But like, if Kanye can't be a conservative, do you know what I mean? That makes totally no sense. We don't expect those standards of white people. So why are we forcing it? That same dehumanization of like all the possibilities of what we can be as black people comes from that same root of white supremacy. Yeah, of like black people being subhuman and not being able to be individuals and not being able to think for themselves. No, I get you to it. But then I feel like that all just kind of
spreads into like a topic that I was talking to my friend about recently, and it was like there's no space for black mediocrity. So like, you know how like
it exists, but like
no, like there's
not
we're not allowed.
platformed.
Yeah, we're not
you're
allowed. So like, you're not allowed to navigate around being like, you know how sometimes there's so many like indie films and like mumblecore films where like you're allowed to, as a young white woman or white girl, you're allowed, like one of my favorite films, Lady Bird. Have you seen it?
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
Gosh, I love that movie. But it's like there's no movie like that for black people. Like just like figuring it out, like trying to understand yourself, who you are. There's nothing like that. And I don't know if you've read that. There's like an article about, you know, the guy that played Jar Jar Binks.
No.
So basically he was saying about how he got this one shot to be Jar Jar Binks, and there was so much like racial stuff because the movie didn't do that well, and they were basically saying like, oh, he had like a little bit of a Jamaican accent and all these things, and the movie
his name is Jar Jar Binks and he has a little bit of a Jamaican accent, and you want to be angry at that. I hate everyone.
It was so ridiculous the way that they spun it around and made him like, he was close to suicide, and how he wasn't able to get another shot like an acting wise, because you know the Star Wars franchise is such a big thing, and he was basically at the lowest of lows, and he was blacklisted and all these things. And it's like, we as black people, we get that one shot and they scrutinize us so much and we can't come back from it, and it's really tiring.
Yeah, it's also, I guess, how much do we want to be so like deeply embedded in that structure that doesn't care or
us,
see for, like, just doesn't give a shit, essentially. And like, I'm completely here for all sides of the coin, all types of like experiences, as long as people are able to be like looked after,
right,
and to be cared for. Because if you want to like go into these institutions, into these spaces that are built on our oppression, like, absolutely fine. I work with them. Like, do you know what I mean? But like, know what you're going up against and know how to look after yourself in those spaces. If you want to build your own things, build your own table, go for it. But understand that like, it's super hard to reimagine what things can look like when you're based in a space of trauma. And also like, we're so used to these systems that when we don't experiment anymore, we don't necessarily like play. You can see like incredible examples of it across the world, but how accessible are they to actually us continue to access our imagination?
Right. Yeah, that's so true. I feel like you're so right. I think in terms of us, I think that's something I struggled with as well. Like, just getting so frustrated with the system that I was like, how do we even get out of this? But that's when you kind of have to go searching for yourself, like going outside your friendship groups, or going outside what you know is the norm. Yeah. And then just speaking to people, and like just even checking the internet. I mean, the internet's there for a reason. You know what I mean?
There's a lot of things on the internet there.
Yeah. Just reading.
Yeah, no, but I completely hear you. I think when it comes to like reimagining structures or systems, or like the ways that we want to exist and like see in the future, it's so important for us to be thinking long term as well. And I think so often we can like not, and I just, when I say we, I'm talking about like most of humanity. I'm not being like we as black people.
No.
I can speak from my one experience. Like,
yeah, right, exactly.
I'm not gonna put everyone on my shoulders right now.
But it's so like, it's so true. That in itself is such a message, because sometimes we do tend to put that on ourselves. We tend to put so many things on us, not in like a negative way, but like in a, oh, I'm carrying this torch for everybody else, when everybody's situation could be totally different from yours. It's so
completely different. Yeah. And like intersects with so many different parts of us, like who we're socialized around, what our religious persuasion is, like whether we're working class or middle class, like all of these different things factor into like the way that we experience the world, the way that we look at ourselves, the way that we interact with other people from different spaces. And it's just like, for me to then say that me and all the black people like with me right now, who are like, it's just me and you in a room, like I don't have all these people like on my shoulders, we continue to like dehumanize that nuance and like this personal experiences. So I'm going to speak from the I, and if that's going to have to be calm,
because obviously you're Bayesian and I'm from Nigeria. And I moved here when I was like in year 8, And I think that definitely helps shape your experiences because you see both sides.
Yeah.
And you see people who are like second generation Nigerian, and they definitely have a different outlook because they grew up here. Like everything about them, some people have never even been to Nigeria, which is fair enough, and they don't necessarily understand it in the same way I understand it. So you can't have the same experiences of Nigeria as I have because they're experiencing it secondhand. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's very different. And even just understanding racial issues, I see that in the most simplistic of terms, because obviously it's very, very complex. But understanding racial issues from my perspective and understanding it from how somebody who has never really experienced being from a country where the majority is black, you can understand why my mentality and their mentality can be quite different. So it's just, there's so many things that we have to take into consideration when we're understanding black issues. Yeah. And you're so right about that, man. Because just leading up from that very casually, I was listening to this video. It was a guy who was talking about like Hollywood, and just because you were talking about these places that are quote unquote trying to include us more. You know how like with the whole Ariel being one of the Halle. And like just hearing how people's reaction to it, and then it sparked a debate amongst like certain communities in black community about how the only reason they are using a lot more black people is because of the buying power of black people. I just wanted to have your opinion on that.
Buying power.
Yeah, so basically they feel like with like Black Panther, the reason it did so well was because so many black people were for it and all these things, and so black people are very good in terms of capitalism. So like we
what?
Yeah, exactly.
How did we get here? Listen, like 360. But also you can't forget that we're actually the majority.
This is
so
what
black
I'm
and brown
saying.
People are the majority. Like China and Asia are 40% of the population, and white people think they have the buying majority.
Woo,
it's just cute the amount of like the extent of the supremacy that you actually feel like you rule the world.
It's
low-key you do, but like the fact that you still think you're the majority, even though you are globally a minority, like the minority. Europe is tiny.
No, it is, and still they went into our backyards.
And the front yard, mind you, they were all over the gaff.
Listen. When Okala was breaking it down in his book,
I
was just like, this man, I need to have a conversation, because it's like I just loved how he took it, and it's just like I was just like, is this really what we're allowing happen? Just for myself, not as like for black people in general, but like for myself, I'm allowing myself being told that I am a minority and I'm this and I'm that, when really, girl,
you get back into that psyche.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. So I'm talking about for myself, not for my black people. You know what I mean?
No, I hear you.
But yeah, man, I was just like, woof. Just the awakening. I feel like there's like a new, like, you know how sometimes you can believe in something, but then you can read a piece of literature that takes it higher, like takes it to a new notch. And then I'm also trying to like read this book about how Europe underdeveloped Africa.
Yes, I have that. Is it The Scramble for Africa? That one?
Yeah. So
how Europe underdeveloped.
Yeah. So basically, because I saw this activism book club, and I was like,
Tasha, man, an A for Activism book club.
Hi. So they're having like a thing on the 28th.
Yeah.
And I really, really want to check it out. So I was reading the book, and I was just like, yo.
It's a lot.
It is crazy. And it's like,
but
I need us as people to just be like, yo, how are we reclaiming our time? How are we taking back our shmoney? You know what I'm saying?
Bag by bag.
So we need you to give us these films and these period drama.
Gonna try Ava DuVernay if you want me to be an understudy.
Ava, shameless plug, yo. Like,
let's make a documentary. Let's make a period drama about Black Wall Street. Let's go.
Oh my gosh, yes. Because I feel like Black Wall Street needs to be talked about in like a better way. I need like a Netflix original. Like I need something.
And then also like post its booming era, because I was actually at a talk with Akala the other day.
Yes, girl. I saw it and I was just like, this girl.
And he mentioned it as well, and he was talking about how afterwards...
I love you, Akala.
after the desegregation of the space, like black people then started shopping at white shops.
Yes,
because they didn't have to anymore, and then like that completely destroyed the infrastructure of Tulsa, of like Black Wall Street. So that then it became the ghetto.
Oof. But then I was listening to a TED talk actually about spending power of black people and how, you know, we should try and spend more within our community. But I was just thinking, how do we begin though? Because they were talking about how, like, they did some research about how long it would take for, let's say if you had like £10 in your pocket or something, I can't remember what exactly the amount she used, how within the black community it leaves in like a short period of time, where within the Asian community it can stay there for a longer amount of time, and like it kind of like goes bigger and bigger in different communities. And I was thinking, how can we, like, as black people, try and, you know,
I hear you. Have you watched Trigger Warning by Killer Mike? So he had like a super interesting Netflix come through.
Yes, okay, Netflix.
So
shout out to you.
Super interesting. Like the first one was on buying black in the US, and like how he could go a day just buying black things.
Oof.
And like, I'm not even gonna spoil it, but like it was shocking to see what happened in the end.
Oh gosh.
Like he just could buy black food from black stores. He like had to only go to black establishments. He was on tour as well, so he was trying to find it. Somewhere to sleep. And yeah, it was just super interesting. And just like another point on that, I'm super for like collective economics and us like putting money together, where it's like traditionally how we have in the UK with like pardoners and saving money together. But I also feel like sometimes a comparison between like other groups being like, oh well, Jewish people are more like advanced, or like Asians are more sort of, literally continues to just like put us in those binary oppositions type thing. And it's like, who can you build money with who has the same vision? Not who can I build money with just because we look the same.
Yeah, right. Do you know what I mean? No, of course. I completely agree. But I felt like sometimes having those comparisons kind of like makes you think, okay, cool. How do I as a black person kind of change my own narrative? So like how you were saying about how you have to find someone who's on the same vision. I completely agree. You can't just have some next person who you know is the wrong one. But at the same time, I feel like we have to start somewhere.
Most definitely. I just don't know if comparison is the healthiest way.
Right. Gotcha.
But I do hear you in terms of it's super impactful to be like, actually there's some things that happen here. But then also looking at like the different histories and understanding.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Different histories definitely have different impacts, of course. I definitely agree with you.
And like the level of anti-blackness, we can see that being like, I'm not necessarily saying that's why other communities can be so prosperous, but if like anti-blackness is so deeply at the end and people with browner skin are more acceptable, you can understand why like within that scope it's easier to like collect money if those people haven't necessarily been traumatized in the same way. And this absolutely is not a trauma Olympics, but the way that we, and I, not to go back to slavery, but like the way that
I feel like, why
that
can't
programming we 100% can, but the programming like the Willie Lynch, the way that philosophy has like permeated the Western world, even into like the idea of eugenics, which came from Birmingham, where we are like right now. That saying who has good genes and who has bad genes, and black people being at like the backside of that, has really like permeated everything in terms of colorism, in terms of the way that we value people,
of course,
knowledge systems, all of that type of stuff. So I just, it's important to be cognizant, but also for that not to necessarily be like, I don't want to say an excuse, but it gives an understanding of how systematically, even if we are on our own shit, like these systems don't work and are trying so deeply to work against us.
Right.
Or to work against people.
I think that makes so much sense. And we need to be very, very aware. I didn't really want to go super, super deep into like everything. But
Let's talk about joy.
But I feel like that is so important, and I feel just being aware and making the extra effort to just be like, okay, let me read up on this, or let me understand this. It's not that
Yeah,
difficult.
but also as Black women, like, let's find some space for joy, because everything we're experiencing, you know, like,
it's true.
I don't need to learn how deep the system is to see it affecting me.
Sometimes I just want to put my wig off and just chill.
I don't want to read a trash novel.
Yes, and I just want to laugh. And sometimes that's what I actually do. Sometimes I just come home and just watch cartoons like Recess, because I'm just tired. Just going outside is a struggle.
100%.
And I just need.
And finding the spaces to be, like, me and my husband were talking about this the other night, because we were just like, we're always so fueled by anger.
Oh my gosh,
and
and
like
super passion
and rage and tiredness, and like it can push us into action so quickly.
Yeah, right.
But like, why, when we're in spaces of joy or contentment, do we not have that same drive to be pushed from there?
Oh my god, yeah.
And like, how do we secure that? Because I can't continue moving from a space of anger, because people are constantly trying to trigger me.
Right.
Like, I can't come here and die for your triggeration in this dancery.
Because I was shout out to Mary.
Every day.
But I was saying to my sister, because my sister was like, oh, I feel like sometimes, because I was reading something, I can't remember what it was, but I think it was like the Botham case, and just like seeing people's reaction and just having like debates with people, as I always do, having debates with people, and I just felt like it was taking a toll on me emotionally.
Yeah.
And I was talking to Toby, and then I was crying and I was so upset. And then my sister called me and she was just like, I think you should just take a break for the rest of the day from everything racial and just watch some like cartoon. But then my other sister called me and was like, girl, have you seen this Dina?
Hype you up
because I have 4 sisters and they all know.
Hold tight them.
Yes, like they all know. Like everything racial, I will come and talk to them and be like, guys, what do you think about this? I think this, I'm triggered by this, like, what do you think?
Yeah.
And if they're not matching my energy, I'm like, girls, what you mean? Like, so sometimes there has to be like, listen, just take a deep breath. So like when you're saying about sometimes we need to just not move from a place of anger, I get that, because sometimes
sorry, it's not to say that our anger isn't legitimate, because 100 feel it and move from it, but that can't be the only thing that moves me into action.
It's true. Because like what you were saying about like the passion, that's how I write from like emotion and passion, and I'm typing on my keyboard furiously, but it's like sometimes write about something happy. Write about something like, you know, listen, I hung out with Aliyah today. It was good. You know what I mean? Like just something nice would be nice. But then at the same time, world, give me something good to write about. You know what I'm saying?
Just like, and I think that there's something in that as well of like how our experiences have always been validated. Like they've always been picked up or they've always been received if it's been about like rage or violence. But if we're talking about like love, if we're talking about like...
that's so true. Black girl magic.
Mothers, you know what I mean? If we're talking about like self-love, loving others, like... loving our shoes, loving fucking avocados. Like, it's not content that people want to receive, but people do want that content, because Black women love avocados just as much as Sally.
Listen,
we've been eating them longer as well. Oh my god, the gentrification of plantain chips.
Listen, wild garlic.
Companies. Ooh,
wild garlic.
And wild garlic. Why would you do that?
That's not how we do.
I feel disrespected.
I feel so disrespected. What? Guys, rescind that award. I know some people.
It.
What?
Return to sender.
I was so.
Someone kicked down their door. Okay, Ali's not.
This is
event right now, but also
like it's the same thing with the sleeping bonnet. Did you see what's
bonnet?
So basically, this
stealing our do-rags now.
Listen, and not only stealing it, selling it at a ridiculous price.
Of course,
$98.
Yeah, what?
$98. We can get it from the shop for £2. Girl, if I smack somebody.
If they're gonna spend that money, let them.
But at the same time, give me my money.
I'll be having my £2 do-rag and living my best, like, hydrated cow life.
I can't.
But what's been bringing you joy?
What's been bringing me joy these days? I don't know. I feel like just doing this app, because I really just want a space for Black women to just be able to vent. But I don't like the word vent, because it suggests that we don't have, like, we can't do anything about it. But I just want a space for women to just be like, yo, this is what happens to me at work. How do I navigate it? And having Black professionals who have now said that they want to be on board and stuff, just teaching us how we can speak to our managers, speak to people in our workplace and be like, hey, this really offended me. This was not nice. I don't necessarily need you to speak to me like that. I don't need you to antagonize me. I don't need you to talk to me in this certain way. And just kind of let them know without being so, not necessarily direct, but just making sure that they understand. Because I sometimes feel like people tell me, oh, I didn't know. But it's like, how many times can I tell you before you, like, this ignorance
You chose
thing?
not to know. Like,
do you understand what I mean?
I don't have time for... I really don't have time.
I don't have time.
But this is why... And also, like, I also don't have to be liked. That was one of the biggest things I learned this year.
Yeah.
That, like, especially as women, we're always taught to be liked, to be likable, to please others. And like, I really don't need to be liked.
Oof.
And if you don't, that's fine. I also, like, I'm a Cancer. So, like...
Oh, same girl!
Moist United. Yeah.
Oh my god, I don't like telling people
I'm
I'm
Oh my god. But yeah.
Oh my god.
And part of that is
I'm
really wanting
now.
to be like, no, but like quite literally, wow. My mum is also Cancer, so I only really know what it means to be a Cancer. She raised me good. But yeah, it's a lot. And trying to like
come out of that.
Yeah, of trying to please everyone. Like I physically cannot.
It's
like
true.
And I'm probably doing something right if white supremacists don't like me, if we're being honest.
Do you understand what I mean? I think just getting to the point of being like, do you know what? Who actually cares? Who actually cares? Because I need to do this for us. And I need to do it for me. And I think that you're so right. And I think that this whole year has been just a lesson in understanding what you just said, that, you know what, people are really not going to like you either way, so you might as well be happy while you're doing it, girl.
Exactly.
Do you understand what I mean?
Find what drives me, and I really want to find, I'm still on that part of finding a way to really, like, solidify my core energy.
Right.
And not let other people's energy, like, navigate mine so much.
Do you know, this
so
makes sense.
hard.
This makes sense.
Like, it's hard out here. I'm a water sign, a ripple, all you have to do, and I feel it.
No, listen. Like, I just collect people's emotions. Like,
and I'm just like, release. Like,
listen.
But what is my releasing mechanism?
It's
on my shoulders.
This is it. It's typing and being upset for this. But it's like, honestly, Toby has to deal with it all the time, because he's like, why are you so upset? Because I watched something the other day about how, let's not even get into it because it'll just get me emotional. But I watched something the other day and I held on to it for like 2 days. It was in my chest.
I'm so sorry.
I
know exactly what you're talking about.
And I feel people's pain and it's so draining.
Yeah.
So that's why I can only watch cartoons some days.
100%. My friend said to me the other day, they were like, Cancers, the feels that you guys get.
It's too
grotesque.
Much. It's too
I was
much.
like, wow, grotesque, that's a strong word.
That's a strong
I'm feeling
word.
something right now because of that word. But also I was like, that's it. That's it. And so how do I find in a space of being comfortable to know that I need to manage my emotions and not just let them manage me has been like one of the biggest learners of this year.
This is why BGH is important, because you need to like be able to talk to people and be like, and I'm such an advocate for therapy as well.
100%.
I think therapy is so important.
Or like counselling. I've been having some conversations, about it recently. I was at like this lit must fall event, and they were talking about like therapy from like a decolonized point of view, like whatever that means. And like they were talking about CBT,
right,
like cognitive behavioral therapy, which is so widely taken up, but it actually being a way of just making you a better worker for capitalism and colonialism.
Wow.
And how like constructed it is in terms of how do you deal with these things when you are actively being traumatized, and how it can actually be a therapy that's very gaslighting in terms of telling people. And I was like, whoa, because I did not know that was a thing.
This is why,
but like,
everything's out
just
together.
to make you more productive.
Right,
capitalism. And so I was like, whoa, but then what can I do that is opposite to that? Is it just me actually being honest and vulnerable with like my black brethren, like my girlfriends, just having those conversations, but then also knowing that we need to release it and not hold on and not be like a burden. But what are the other ways that either historically, whether it's been through like quilt making or ways that like black women have got together to just chat shit. Like, come on, let's sip and spill tea,
right?
Let's get it. And so trying to find more of those spaces.
Like, there's so many spaces, but it's just how to find them as well. I think counseling is so important, and just having somebody to just finding a good one as well, like finding a good counselor, having a good therapist is
black woman.
This is what I'm saying. I have one, but I feel like she's always booked, and like she's
But
always
busy.
like,
Black
get
women
your
always
point.
in demand. Always
Get
in
your
demand.
point, auntie.
But also, I'm
still.
demanding you right now. Please
Listen,
help me.
like, please,
Because my
I'm knocking at your
emotions-
door
I
because,
held on to this film for 2 days. Please come. Sis, it's actually me. It's actually me. Why do I watch Pocahontas and cry?
Listen, I actually tweeted the other day, like, I need a TV show where I do not have to think. I just don't want anything on my brain.
I love reality TV.
I love reality.
Hold tight, Love Island. Wow.
Listen, the only reason I was watching Love
Incredible.
Island was because of my boy Ovi.
100% my husband.
I was like, God, what is happening? Why is he so fine? Why is he so goofy? Why does he look so good?
Like, just he's been chilling in Tottenham this whole time. I just don't
First of all, shout out to ASOS for giving him his coins.
Okay, can we talk about what is even more special?
She's
And what? Yeah! Ray's so good. I cried real tears. I was like, wow, he is a real one.
First of all, put your dad
art?
on.
You put
I
your dad
love
on
me
and
some-
you put his art on an ASOS design piece,
Ooh.
which is now selling internationally.
Shout out to Ovi.
Your dad's about to get more commissions. And also his work is fire. I was like, you see generational wealth. Man's building it.
Speak on it.
My chest plate.
Oh.
Wow.
Ovi, so you
shifted
deep
mountains.
on so many levels. Not only is you fine,
Mate.
you checking for your family.
Uh-huh.
You love your dad.
Come through.
But then you're doing this thing. Can you talk us through it? Base.
Yes, the festival.
Hi.
Wait, so I'm working with an organisation called Punch Records at the moment, with another curator called Artical, a real one. And Punch basically approached both of us to be curators for this year because the festival's been running for like the last 13 years, and they wanted to try something new. So it was the first time they've got like external curators, and so we've been putting like what our vision of the future might be into the ether, and there's going to be so many different things from the 22nd till the 27th. Across Birmingham. So Article's been programming an incredible weekender. Come through.
Oh my gosh, I definitely am coming through. I think I
Yes.
booked a ticket for the first day. I know that you're curating.
Oh, the exhibition. Yeah. So I'm curating an exhibition with 3 emerging artists.
Oof.
It's called Built of Past at Present.
This is why I said that Aliyah is always out here.
And oop.
I'm just trying to be like all modest and stuff. Like, oh no, I don't know it, girl.
I mean, thank you. sis.
Listen,
Thank
I
you.
love it. I'm so
you.
for it, and I hope that you keep doing your thing.
Yeah, we're gonna try. There's just like I have a very active imagination, so like so many things pop up all the time. I'm like, oh, we should do this project, and we can do this, and we can do this, and I'm like, but physically, there's no time. So Aliyah, write them on a document. Come to them in 30 years, maybe.
What?
Like when you have time and money. But yeah, so just trying not to get overwhelmed by all of the ideas. But the festival will there's just so many different things that we've been running. So Honwa, which is a platform just for black and brown women, but everyone can come and watch. It's basically about putting our voices on the mic, but it's a Black History Month edition, so it will just be black women,
Right,
because
nice.
Multicultural History Month isn't in our politics. Although support the solidarity of all of our brothers and
Of
sisters,
course, yeah.
Reggies out there. So Honwa will have a event featuring Anais, and Lay Full Stop, who's from Manchester, Soraya Aisha from Birmingham, and K-Mew X Rue from Birms in London. And so that will be at Medicine Bakery, and then we'll also have like an open mic available for people to shout us out.
So I can drop some bars.
Come through with the bars, B. Come through. But yeah, the program is just full, from exhibitions to club nights to weekenders to showcases to like films about what future masculinities could look like.
Ooh, yes.
Many a ting.
So where can we follow you, girl?
Ew. You can follow me at Aliyah Hasinah, spelled ALIYAHHASINAH, on Instagram and Twitter. Like, allow me on both of them. Especially.
Are you trying to tell us not to judge you?
And you can judge me. Again, I don't care if you like me or not.
Oh,
no, I'm joking.
and
Am I joking? I don't know.
It's
And but yeah.
Honestly, I love that though. I feel like that is like a whole mood. Like, I don't care if you like me. Just take the content and go. If you love it, follow. If you
Give
don't...
me my citations and my bag. I'll see you later.
Let me secure my coin.
Exactly. When I'm, like, trying to build something more infrastructural.
Yeah.
Somewhere else.
Fabulous.
Thank you for having me.
Oh my God, thank you for coming.
And for making this content. Like,
Thank you.
so important.
Thank you so much.
Scene.